Well, that's good that I at least passed the test. I am covered in the flaky ashes of this cameraman's remains, and I feel like that's an issue that needs to be addressed here today. I've never wanted to have sex with a pot pie, but like, I'd have sex with that pot pie.
We're all weak to stepping on nails.
Let me preface this by saying I wrote a script.
Daytona Beach is like 2 mild inconveniences from being a post-apocalyptic wasteland anyway.
So many of my tabs say semen.
Are you guys ready for this weird, horny adventure that we're all about to go on?
You can't handcuff me for skanking.
This motherfucker gaslights you.
Diet Coke and Sorrow will be chapter 4.
And against all odds, Kyle, we became those swirly weirdos.
This whole podcast is a very negative mouthfeel.
Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how a game about catching strawberries with googly eyes alongside a bunch of off-brand Muppets is secretly one of the darkest and most poignant commentaries about humanity's need to feel whole and the cognitive dissonance that comes with the knowledge that we will all die alone and will eventually be completely forgotten. The theme song's catchy too.
Is this a Bug Snacks
Is that
thing?
what
Is that
Bug
what
Snacks
this
is?
is?
Is that
right.
the appeal of Bug Snacks? It's like a Paddington thing where like the Paddington movie is actually the secret genius work of art.
That is exactly what a good comparison. On the surface, it's just a bunch of silly Muppets catching Pokemon, but holy shit, there is like some real dark stuff going on. Like not like dark horror or even like dark like fucked up, just like one of the characters. So you do like a side quest with all the characters, and the characters are all like very lovable, like very like not one-dimensional Muppets. And one of them, he's like a pacifist, and he wants to have a ranch of all the bug snacks. He doesn't want to eat the bug snacks, right? And like when you end their quest, all the quests end like a super downer because that's how life is, right? Like you don't tie up life in a loose end, right? So you do something where like his final quest is like, get me the biggest bug snacks you can, because I think the bigger that the bug snacks are, the smarter that they are, and the more trainable that they'll be. And of course that doesn't work out. And then he just kind of like the bug stacks runs away, and he just kind of looks dejected, and he's like, well, I guess it's kind of like family. Everything abandons you eventually.
Oh no.
Jesus, Bug Snacks.
And then it's just like, mission complete.
When did this become a Bug Snacks podcast?
I would love this to be a Bug Snacks podcast, Matt.
That's okay.
Yeah, I watched too much History Channel competition shows this week for this to be a Bug Snacks podcast now.
Fair enough.
You and me
Fair
both,
enough.
Kyle.
Well, maybe we'll do a flavor text. Anyway, so that's a great segue that Kyle just said. So for those of you at home keeping up with the DT exclamation deplore trademark, sometime along the route of the pandemic, we started a public relations firm.
Don't
apparently.
like pandemic. Don't like
No,
pandemic at all.
It's good. I
You
like
can
it.
thank Todd for
Sometime
that.
during the Panini Press.
At the latter half of the Personal Pan Pizza, we started a public relations firm somehow, and we were able to make a killing off of it since everybody thought that we were selling them advertising.
Yeah.
Now, with that extra capital, we decided to expand the business venture into a slightly different direction. So we bought a state-of-the-art blacksmithing forge.
Of course.
Logical.
I know what you're thinking. How will this make money? Well, that's where today's roundup of weaponsmiths come into play. We're going to sell recreations of popular video game weapons to collectors and enthusiasts at conventions, when those are a thing again.
Oh, Andrew, you sweet summer child.
What a niche podcast we're about to do, you guys. I just want to stop here before we step off into this journey to acknowledge the fact that the sentence, we're going to sell recreations of video game weapons
Yep.
at conventions to collectors and enthusiasts, just was the pitch for our podcast, our audio podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the real pitch for this was me about like 2 a.m. a couple months ago, after on a marathon binge of Forged in Fire on Netflix, me saying, I want to do a Forged in Fire episode, send. And that was the amount of detail that I gave.
shirtless and sweaty on the couch.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that you say that, shirtless and sweaty on the couch. Andrew, you take the same approach that I do when it comes to a Waluigi episode.
Oh,
Yeah, but the difference between you and me is I took the initiative.
I mean, I forced you all to play on my playground not too long ago, so...
All right, we got to get into this. We're on a time limit. Okay, so pretend that you hear some very vague-ish metal music. Weaponsmiths, welcome to the Forge.
That's so stupid.
You're here to engage in 3 rounds of timed edge making.
Andrew, when did you change into a flannel? You just had a t-shirt on.
You're here to engage in 3 rounds of timed edge weapon making competitions specifically designed to test every aspect of your blacksmithing capabilities in front of a panel of 1 judge. That's me. And basically thousands of experts and enthusiasts out there alike. Let's meet today's contestants. First up, we have Todd, guy who just quit his job as a computer programmer last month after selling out of Ninja Stars for the first time at his local Ren Fair. Thomas.
Rolls off the tongue, that one.
Second, we have Matt, former libertarian who lives off the grid and has 1 credit card he uses to get a tent set up at Burning Man every year. Cole.
That's the inevitable end for me, I know.
And finally, we have industry veteran Kyle, local yokel that reminds everyone of their dad's old drinking buddy who has somehow been melting steel for 40 plus years, and it's a miracle that he hasn't died yet. Harper.
Go ahead, Todd.
You go, Kyle.
Okay,
so I was going to say, you go.
So I finished the 1 episode I watched of this show.
Yeah, retweet that.
15 minutes before we started recording, and local yokel that reminds everyone of their dad's old drinking buddy, but has somehow been melting steel for 40 plus years, and it's a miracle he hasn't died yet. Cut his fingers off it like mid competition.
Yeah.
And he kept going.
And he kept going. He's like, I'm good. I'm finishing the round.
Matt, can I get verbal attestation that those are in fact the 3 archetypes of Forged in Fire, please?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I want to say is I feel like that was really unfair to people that go to Burning Man every year. Like, I feel like they lost out in that description because they're kind folk mostly.
Oh, yeah.
And 2, Kyle, which episode did you watch? Because I also finished an episode 15 minutes before we recorded today.
I watched the one where they had to, they got like solid steel toys and had to turn them into swords. And then they had to make a short sword at the end. And there was a guy outside of the 3 archetypes on there, which was like
Military guy?
clearly closeted gay guy. Who's just really into swords, and that's the guy who won. He made the best sword.
Yeah, there's definitely Bible Belt knife fetish is another archetype for this show.
That's like an album title.
That's so good.
Anyway, I watched the episode where they took pieces of a pinball machine to make a barbarian sword.
Ooh, I thought about that one.
Yeah,
That's
it
cool.
was. I mean, it was fun.
Let me quick for our audience because probably no one has watched as much Forged in Fire as either Matt or me.
That's true.
So the deal with Forged in Fire, it is like a lot of the reality shows now. It is that Great British Bake Off style of reality show where you have a bunch of artisans that do a thing. I'll do a thing together at the same time under a time limit. The specific spin or the formula for Forged in Fire is they all come in and they have to make the same weapon, and they're given these like weirdo materials. So I use Great British Bake Off, but it's probably more like the cooking one.
Yeah, like Chopped.
Chopped. Yeah, it's more like Chopped. In that it's singular episodes, not like an entire season. So they get like a weird ingredient that they all have to meld down, and that's what their sword is. And then they all get like the first pass, and it's like the rough cut of the material, and it's usually like a sword or a knife or whatever. And then they go the second round. They have to finesse it, and then they have to put it through. They'll put it through a series of tests, which we'll get into. And then the final
tests?
Oh, the tests are very
The
good.
super scientific tests.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna take your thing and hit it real hard with another thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
like
test.
they saw Mythbusters and they're like, nah, too much science.
Yep.
Something catchphrase, something credits. That it is.
I assume they just have a closet full of ballistic bodies with human organs
And pig carcasses.
ready to wheel out for that third
I am
bit.
convinced the Discovery Network bought like $1 million worth of ballistics gel back in 2008 for Mythbusters, and they're still just like, we got to get rid of this. No one wants it.
We have all
can't
this ballistics gel.
We can't sell it.
The horniness in the eyes of those people in round 3 as they watch their sword cut through ballistic gel like was too much.
Yeah. So the last round is they're down. They start with 4 and then they get down to 2 for the last round. The last round is the bladesmiths go back to their own shop, which I always think is interesting because then you can see their home operation, which is always wildly different. And then they go and they make a different. This is the history part. This is why it's on History Channel. Is they recreate some sort of historical, he puts in air quotes, type of replica. Usually it's like this sword from fucking Neon Genesis Evangelion, but you know what I mean. There's something going on there. So, getting into character, weaponsmiths, we want to see your inspiration at work. For this first round, each of you will describe in detail what weapon you are creating today. Tell us where it's from and how it's used in the source material. Remember, you'll have an undetermined amount of time to finish your work, but through crafty editing tricks, we'll make it seem like it's way less than it actually is, and one of you will be made to look like an absolute fool after we cut it together a series of 2-second clips of you talking to yourself out of context. Todd, let's start with you.
This is the stupidest thing we've done.
I'm so excited.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
No, it's absolutely not.
This is definitely for Andrew and not for us.
Okay. Also getting into character. Well, hey, judges. I'm here today because my son, my stepson, Michael, is a big fan of master crafted weaponry. So today I'm crafting something called a chaos blade or a blade of chaotix. I can't remember. It's not important. So it's important for you to know my favorite game growing up was God of War on the old PlayStation, and I'm hoping that if I can make a dang blade of chaos, I can get my son, stepson, to play that new God of War game and maybe learn a new appreciation for the bond forged between a father and his son. So anyway, the dang Chaos Blades, they were the 2 big old daggers that Kratos, he had bonded to his arms with chains by Ares as the god of war, and he ultimately used them to kill any and every god known to man. You name it, he probably killed it. They are literally forged in literal fire in the darkest depths of the underworld by Ares themselves. They even were used to kill Kratos' family, not once, but twice. So hopefully, making a true-to-form replica is the kind of thing my boomer son will think is rad. My zoomer son. Damn it, I gotta get that car. It auto-corrected boomer to zoomer.
Start over.
Let me get that last stick.
Yeah.
Hopefully making a true-to-form replica is the kind of thing my zoomer son will think is rad, Right, judges?
No notes.
Everyone at home, Todd grew a push broom mustache and is wearing all just head to toe khaki now after explaining what he was doing today.
So I have a question, and an actual legitimate question. Is God of War, like the first God of War game, old enough that a guy who played God of War growing up could have a stepson who would be into weapon making? Real question, because I'm
05.
So no.
I mean,
So someone who played
Would have been a teenager. I mean, they'd be our age.
Yeah, say someone played
so
God of War at 13 or 15, which I would have been. It would be 30 now. So they could have a son into watching Forged in Fire with them at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I did not, listeners, I did not do the math prior to this recording, but I feel that it kind of works enough.
Let me say this without being too descriptive. Somebody our age, yes. Somebody our age could certainly have a teenage son. The math works.
Let me also put it this way. I definitely saw posts when God of War 4 came out that people were like, I have a son now and played the original God of War, and this one made me cry like a baby. So
Yeah.
it's intentional. It was
Okay.
aimed at that audience for sure.
All right. I've never played God of War, so none of this means anything to me. But
Me neither.
sure. Okay.
I think you might like God of War, Matt. I'm going to go out on a limb and say
I
that.
don't know what Matt likes. I will never know.
I don't like anything. I am eternal hatred. Nothing brings me joy. Anyway, second question. So, these are just knives, right? There's nothing special about these. They're just cool knives.
Well, yeah, I mean they're just dang old big knives.
Okay.
These big old knives. They strap to your wrist with chains. They're fueled by hatred.
Contestant, question for you.
You
actually,
can,
2
you're
questions.
The only judge in the room.
While the heavy, if you might not hear me with that heavy metal music playing, but the chains, the aforementioned chains that go around your arm now, will you be crafting those in the forge today?
I did not bring any chains with me. These are replicas, right? I don't think I need the chains.
And will you be forging the chains onto your own wrists, or is that what we do?
So canonically, and I push my glasses up, and my character actually does that. The chains came to existence once Kratos agreed to be the servant to the god of war and kill all the gods. So unless I'm making a pact with literal Ares himself today, I don't think I'm gonna need any chains.
That's certainly a dramatic interpretation. All right, next contestant.
Well, judges.
Did you put an I in judges?
Whale judges.
Whale judges, judges of whales.
I'll be crafting the dagger of time today. I'll be utilizing an ancient Persian technique. I'll be literally forging the sands of time into a long knife. I'm gonna put an hourglass emblem there in the pommel, and I'm hoping I'll make something fit for a prince today. The dagger of time is from the Prince of Persia series. It allows the player to control time either by rewinding a little bit and getting to try a challenge again, or slowing things down so they have the extra time to think through the puzzle they're solving. And I hope to be able to use both those techniques today to help me forge my way to victory.
Okay, 2 things. 1, the idea that your dad's barfly buddy is explaining the intricacies of time travel is phenomenal. Also, second question for you, contestant. Are you implying that you are putting the concept of time inside of a sword pommel?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Excellent.
so we had this conversation in our Discord, and I went back and checked, and we have talked about the Dagger of Time once before. And when we did talk about the Dagger of Time, there was mention of a time monster that basically comes to kill you as soon as you use the Dagger of Time. And so I am curious for you, contestant Kyle, when you forge this new sword, is it actually gonna work? Is it gonna bring a time monster?
I would also be interested to know if there's going to be a dang time monster in the studio today. Thank you.
In my experience, I have not used the time properties of the dagger of time enough to summon a time monster, but I am prepared for that challenge should a time monster appear in the forge today.
Love that confidence.
If you happen to meet a dang time monster and slay it, can I have a picture next to it? I think my stepson Michael would appreciate that sort of thing.
Absolutely,
Big fan
friend.
of time monsters.
Time monsters and forged weapons.
Absolutely, friend.
My stepson Michael's the kind of kid that has a lot of swords on his wall.
All right, we've had enough camera time with these 2 yokels. Let's see our final contestant for the evening.
Judge, why would you want a sword that's just a sword that straps to your wrists, or just a time sword that you can't even use the time properties of, when you could have a sentient hate sword containing an evil soul with an animate eyeball inlay? A bit of a misplaced modifier there. Let me clarify that the sword has an animate eyeball inlay, not the evil soul that the sword contains. Well, today I will be forging a replica of the Soul Edge from the Soul Calibur series of games. And I'm going to take a minute to step away from the bit and inform you that the lore of the Soul series is
It's
absolutely batshit insane.
Yeah.
Yep.
My God.
Insane. Like,
Have you played any of the games, Matt?
3, the one for GameCube, and that was it. And I was like,
Me
wow, this
too.
is a really cool game. I would love to play it more. And then I never
Double
played a single one
samesies.
ever.
and I only got it because Link was a playable character in it.
Also same.
Yeah.
Quadruple samesies. I played a little bit of 6, and it's I mean, they're good games. They're really good fighting games. I'm just not a big fighting game guy.
Yeah, and like that's it. It's just a fighting game, and it's got like I think there's a manga, like there's some supplemental material, but it should not have the amount of lore that it has. Anyway, okay, so back
silly.
to the bit. Soul Edge is actually the main antagonist of the Souls games. It contains an evil entity known as Inferno that causes a curse called Malfestation in whoever touches his, because the sword does use he, him pronouns, hilt, which drains the wielder of their life force, drives them insane, causes them to lust for blood, and demands they reap the soul of anyone they defeat in battle.
Hold on. I appreciate you properly gendering your sword. Good forward thinking there, but you're to tell me you're worried about me summoning time monsters when you've got the literal embodiment of hate called Inferno in your sword? It sounds a bit sketch to me.
Now, I understand you've never used the time properties of your sword, and I want to say I've never actually made a Soul Edge before, but because this is forged in the fire, you know I've got to try. The sword from the game has a hardened steel edge with flesh on its spine. Since I'm limited on time today, I'm going to mimic this by layering human skin with spring from the axle of the golf cart we have to use today to create a 128-layer Damascus billet. It is important to note that the original Soul Edge... Oh man, it is important to note that the original Soul Edge began as a normal two-handed sword, but developed a malevolent will after being bathed in blood and hatred and death. So clearly, like every Forged in the Fire competitor knows, the quench is going to be the most important part of this forge. I've never quenched in blood before, so hopefully it doesn't pick up a warp.
Those are words that I recognize from my
That was-
one
Bravo,
watch
Matt.
of
That was
Clearly
really
you've
good.
watched
Thank
the
you.
show.
Forged in Fire.
I've watched
That was
the
really
show.
good.
I would like to make it very clear that I know way more about Forged in the Fire than I do about Soul Calibur. I just need to put that out there.
Yeah. Listeners, just know that Damascus steel is the only type of steel that you can use to forge. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the only option.
If you don't make a 128-layer folded Damascus billet, or
Yeah. What the fuck are you even doing?
yeah, or put ball
Why are we
bearings in a
even
steel
here?
canister
Yeah.
and do a canister billet, you don't belong on Forged in the Fire.
You certainly don't. All right, so let's pretend in this weird headspace that all of you guys were working while we were talking to you. Weaponsmiths, stop what you're doing. The first round of competition is over. Now, by this point, we have depleted our resources of royalty-free heavy metal backing tracks and have to recharge the batteries in the high-speed cameras. So in order to properly judge the quality of your weapons, we're going to subject each of you to a strength test to evaluate the strength, durability, and overall construction of your weapons. Following the strength test is the keel test, where we bring in edged weapons specialist Doug Marcada to stab a pig carcass a bunch of times to apparently illustrate how useful your weapon is in combat. Todd, as the least tenured and probably most entitled contestant here, will start with you. Tell us how your weapon will pass the strength and keel tests.
Well, wouldn't you know it, in the process of making this here replica of a single blade of chaos, I seem to have made a ding-dang second one. I was hoping me and my son, my stepson, Michael, could each have one as kind of a special, kind of father-son thing. But wouldn't you know it, I accidentally read the inscription on the infernal metal I crafted these blades out of, and now there's chains that have appeared out of the handles, and they seem to have seared themselves into my ding-dang forearms. Anywho, about these blades, these babies, they can cut through pig carcasses like a flaming hot hell knife through some pig carcasses. That's how they cut. And here's the thing: as they cut through flesh and blood, they seem to grow stronger and move faster somehow as they absorb the blood of their enemies that they kill. Or keel? Is that what we said? Keel? That's the word? It's the word we're using? the keel test. Well, yeah, I found myself kind of in that target room, just recklessly swinging them around in a big old circle, further and faster until some numbers flashed in front of me that said 300 combo, and then I slammed them down in front of me real hard and fast. And hey, so a cameraman was standing too close in that dramatic shot, and I think you should know that. I held this man as his body disintegrated into ash before me, Judge. He had a picture of children on his phone screen, and his partner has called him 3 times since this test happened in the other room. Is there someone I can talk to about this? I'm concerned I committed a murder. A pig murder and then a man murder.
We did see all of that happen, and we actually got it on tape, and the authorities have been called, and you will be escorted out of the building shortly. Fortunately for your case, Edged Weapons Specialist Doug Marcada did look over the body, and then he turned to the camera and said, "It will kill."
Well, that's good that I at least passed the test. I am covered in the flaky ashes of this cameraman's remains, and I feel like that's an issue that needs to be addressed here today.
Yeah, we'll deal with that later. How about contestant number 2, Kyle?
Yeah, Judge, I'm not too worried about the strength and keel test today, because I think today's just my day. I was real worried about forging under a time limit, but as the blade began to take shape and I started working with it, everything around me just started to really slow down. And I seemed to be working a lot faster than my 2 opponents today, and I felt like I just had a lot of time to really work on the blade. And at one point, I even made a huge mistake, but when I went back to the forge to fix it, it had undone, and I just got a chance to do it right the first time again. And I think this confidence and ability to fix my mistakes seemingly before I even make them and slow things down and think through, I think my sword will just breeze through those strength and keel tests, and I might even get a chance to do them a second or third time and really get them right. So I think I'm in good shape today.
It feels as though you might be using that the ding dang power of time that contestant 3 warned you might summon a darn time monster. Should we be concerned about that?
Why don't you worry more about cutting up the crew here and committing murders than me summoning time monsters? How about that?
I am, in fact, very concerned about this, and I want you to know. I'm genuinely concerned.
Fortunately for you, contestant number 2, Edged Weapons Specialist Doug Marcada did grab the sands of time, and he looked at the camera, and then somehow the footage got all messed up, and we heard, "Eek, well, eek."
Oh, wow. Oh, what have we done? Whew.
Go ahead, Matt.
Obviously, the Soul Edge will pass the strength test, as it is the ultimate weapon of the Soul series. I was able to pull off an edge quench by actually slicing my heart with the hot steel, so the spine of the knife is nice and soft to allow for those pounding chops. As for the keel test, it is no question that... Oh god, this bit. It is no question that the Soul Edge will devour that pig carcass. In fact, the Soul Edge is actually notorious for sucking the life force of whatever it touches, so we'll be making bacon out of that pig in no time. It's an offensive two-handed weapon, so I know Doug Marcada will have that weird little twinkle in his eye when the fake History Channel blood sprays across his face. The real question here is if Edged Weapon Specialist Doug Marcada will be able to control the evil spirit of Inferno that courses through my blade as it consumes his darkest wills. Also, I ran out of time to pin that animate eyeball into my tang. I just epoxied it in there, so I hope it doesn't pop out.
How much life force are you hoping to extract from a pig carcass? I think there is no life force left in a carcass.
I don't determine the life force. The sword determines the life force. The sword is the driving force of this meat mech.
Oh.
Did you say first off, did you just say meat mech?
Listen, I didn't think that sentence through. Just walk away from it.
And this is the character out of the bit. Did you describe a part of the sword as the tang? Did you say tang?
Yeah. Tang.
Did they not say tang 10 times while you watch?
It's the guard, right?
Well, the tang is the piece of your blade that you put a handle onto. God damn, I've watched too much of this stupid show. I should know as much about knife making as I do. It's It's the piece of steel you leave below your like hilt to stick your handle onto. Also a delicious orange Kool-Aid drink. Whatever.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Let me just close this out real quick. So unfortunately, Edge weapon specialist Doug Marcato was concerned about the soul stealing properties. He grabbed the sword, and as he felt his soul being devoured by a unfathomless evil, he looked at me and he said, "It will seal."
God damn it.
Good.
All right. Well, now that we've made the jump to Discovery Ploose,
Good.
our audience base has grown significantly from just your girlfriend's dad. Now, as such, we've had to change up the FIF formula a little bit. The bigwigs at D Plus 2 have informed us that while 3 contestants may enter the forge, only 1 may leave. So with that said, today's final competition will be a no-holds-barred fight to the death against each other armed only with the weapon you just built. I'm going to need each of you to explain in excruciating detail why you are best positioned to murder the other 2 in cold blood, while Edge weapon specialist Doug Marcato and I drive off in his Toyota Camry.
Well, here's the thing, Judge and Mr. Marcato. I see you're speeding away. You probably can't hear me anymore, but I'm still talking to the remaining camera that's set up here. Here's the thing. I have now tasted blood. I have had a thirst for it. And I thought I should tell you that here, following that last challenge, I have surrendered my being to the God of War as a servant for some ding-dang God-level destruction. That cameraman's ashes that now cover my skin are a reminder of the scorched earth I will leave in my ding-dang wake. I'm going into this next arena ready to bathe the walls of this recording studio with the blood of those who dare stand against me. With a series of long-range strikes, acrobatic leaps, flame-enhanced slams, and, wouldn't you know it, some graphic, quick-time event-enhanced cinematics, I'm going to end the lives and claim the souls of those other amateur forgers. In effect, taking their weapons as my own in my quest to strike down the literal gods themselves. Well, the Soul Edge will do nothing to stop my dang fury as I strike from a distance until we enter into what is an elaborate 2-minute cinematic that involves me liberating that there epoxied eye from the hilt of that darn sword. And, well, the Dagger of Time, these blades have actually killed the God of Time, Kronos. He's dead. Killed him. The Dagger of Time, that's just going to allow me to commit some darn murders over and over and over again, leaving my own blades and, honestly, hopefully my stepson Michael ultimately satisfied in what I've done here today. Just multiple times with darn murderous end results. I've tasted blood.
You guys know that Ned Flanders themed metal band Oakley Dokley? That was the energy of Todd's answer in that question.
Yep.
I was looking to bring some big Ned Flanders energy today.
Yeah, Ned Flanders saying "I tasted blood" is an incredible quote.
Well, you see here, Matt, it's an unquenchable thirst that drives my soul being and desire. Wouldn't you know it? I take that silence as my knives have killed you. You're now dead.
Kyle?
Well, Andrew, like I said, I feel like I'm just moving way faster than these other 2. Again, like you got them big high-speed cameras on them, but not on me. Once again, it seems like I've achieved this zen-like state where I feel like I just got 2 or 3 chances to do things if they don't go right the first time. So even with all the crazy fire and chains and animate eyes in the other swords, I do feel like I can out-combat them with my cool focus and my time tricks. So I'm not too worried about the combat.
Can you elaborate on those time tricks, please?
Like I said, I can slow down when I'm wielding the Dagger of Time. I can slow down time and just sidestep their swipes and duck under their jabs and just cut them to bits while they're moving real slow. And if they do get the jump on me, I'll just turn back the sands of time a bit and take another crack at that approach and get it right that time.
Hey, contestant 2, while we're locked in Mortal Kombat, I just gotta ask you, as you run out of charges on the sands of time, what happens? Do you just have more sands of time to draw from? Or?
They'll replenish eventually. I gotta monitor them recharges.
He's got all the time in the world.
You got a fanny pack on your side with some extra sands of time you brought with you.
Sure do.
Pocket sands of time.
Always carry my pocket sand of time with me.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious that the Soul Edge will easily be able to defeat these other two losers. The Soul Edge siphons the life force of whoever it touches, and that makes it a purely offensive weapon because it is also siphoning my life force. And while the monster energy drinks that I crushed before I came on Forged in the Fire today did give me some extra life force, my time is limited. So I'm basically just going to go in there and swing wildly, but if I cut one of them once, I tend to have about 10 extra attack power when I've got this sword equipped, and also as soon as I slash them, they're going to start losing life force. So one good hit from the Soul Edge, and it's all over for these two.
Awesome.
Good.
All right. Well, we will get into our super secret bonus question. So, as we've discussed here and debate this before, Forged in Fire did have a spinoff for 2 years hosted by none other than WWE's Goldberg, which was called Knife or Death, highlighting the wonder and majesty that is Blade Sports. For those of you listening, if you are interested in Blade Sports, check out our episode entitled Let the Kabatis Hit the Floor. So, contestants, tell me, what is the competitive D-tier sport that we're going to spin off of your weapon, and who is your celebrity host? We will come back with a super secret bonus right after this break.
Okay, listen, you know as well as we do, one day Nintendo is going to come knocking and tell us to stop using the Wii Shop music or they're going to sue the underwear off us. So instead of that, today I'm going to read you terrible gaming jokes I found on the internet for the next 60 seconds. I have not pre-read any of these. Let's see how it goes. What game do you play after eating Taco Bell? Fortnite. I asked my dad why a grown man would play Pokemon Go. He said, why not? How do you cure hunger in Minecraft? 3 square meals. What does Sonic use to knock on a door? Knuckles. How do you get a Bulbasaur on a bus? You poke him out. What did Princess Zelda eat for breakfast? A sausage link. Damn it. PS4 got injured and Xbox One is calling the ambulance. Wii U, Wii U, Wii U, Wii U. Jesus, 60 seconds is a long time. Why is a Jedi Knight never lonely? Because the Force is always with him. Why shouldn't you ask Yoda for money? Because he's always a little short. Why did Mario cross the road? Because he couldn't find the warp zone. What did Super Nintendo say to Sega Genesis? You know, everyone always tells me that I'm a bit better than you. Why did Sony hire Justin Timberlake to fix the PlayStation Network? Because they were hoping he could bring more than sexy back. Okay, I'm done. I'm never doing that again.
All right, welcome back, contestants. Before we left the break, we introduced the super secret bonus question, which is, give me that competitive D-tier sport, D-tier sport, a la Knife or Death, that we're going to spin off of your weapon specifically, and then also give me the celebrity host that's going to lead it. We'll start with you, Todd.
Yeah, so I've got a pretty strong history ahead of me with the Blades of Chaos since they are permanently forged to my arms. And I'm really looking forward to the show that will ultimately come from this experience, and that show is titled Parents Impressing Their Children with Hellblades. And it's a show. It's a show about parents. The contestants are parents, and they come onto the show and they try to impress their children by making weapons that require them to condemn their souls to do so. The host of this show will be Will Smith, who, as our listeners all know, long ago gave his soul over to the eldritch evils that lurk in the shadows. And the end of every episode ends with him standing with the contestant who has surrendered their soul to an evil to create a weapon and presenting that weapon to his son, Jaden Smith, who is never impressed.
Wow, how incredibly appropriate.
Question.
Yes, you with the lurking time monster behind you.
Question for you. Will Will Smith be rapping the theme song to this show?
Well, wouldn't you know it? It's funny you mentioned that. That was actually part of the agreement with the Eldritch Horrors. He will forever have to rap every theme of every show he's ever part of ever again.
Thank you. No further questions.
It's truly a punishment to us all.
Fantastic stuff. Kyle, what about you?
Well, Andrew, I'm glad you asked. My spin-off show will be a series of timed knife challenges. chopping things, who can chop things the quickest, who can throw as many knives as fast as they can, etc., etc. We will be calling that show a Time to Kill, and it will be hosted by none other than Back to the Future's Michael J. Fox.
All right. Very good. Matt.
Yes, Judge, we would like to pitch for you a show that we will use the soul edge for every competitor, which we'll call Soul Bowl, where they will stand at the end of a lane and we'll line some people up at the end of the lane and they're just going to swing that sword and they're going to shoot some hate down that lane and it's going to be Soul Bowl. And it's going to be hosted by none other than former PBA bowler Pete Weber. Pete Weber, who you may remember from back in 2012 when he uttered the line, "Who do you think you are? I am. I am. Who do you think you are? I am." Who just retired from professional bowling this month.
What a fucking reference.
What a reference, Matt.
Question.
God.
Is the question how I got there? Because I started at Soul Bowl.
We know how you got there.
I won't even do this in character. Question: what will you do when Soul Bowl is already a trademarked Creole spinoff of like BB Bop?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably been a college football playoff game at least once in the last 20 years. So,
follow-up question: who are you getting to kill as the human bowling pins each episode? Are these volunteers? Are these people on death row? What's the
to
where
be
are you
determined,
sourcing?
Kyle.
Where
To
are you
be
sourcing?
determined.
Kyle, he's pitching the show. You don't have to have all the details figured out when you pitch it's actually more ballistic dummies.
All right. Well, the screams have been heard. The authorities have been called. The murders have been done. And edged weapons specialist Doug Marqueta and I have almost reached the border. Let's finish off today's festivities with closing statements.
Judge and Mr. Marqueta, there are few rules of gods in making long knives, whereas I have killed a cameraman and some pig carcasses and the other contestants in this headcanon. These blades of chaos have murdered Hephaestus, the god of forging weapons. I stand before you holding these dig-dang weapons bound to my gosh darn hands, and my being the literal god of war, because I, myself, have killed the god of war, and the god of time, and the literal god of forging weapons. I stand before you as a god, not a man. Also, I forever have these blades in my hands. It's like playing Edward 40 Hands, but they're murderous blades. They're stuck until I die.
I like how you referenced the drinking game based on Edward Scissorhands, which would have been such a better comparison.
Oh, God. It
Been a
tells you-
perfect comparison.
It was an
that's
interesting
awesome.
choice, Todd.
Man, if only I had a good way
Really told on
show the
yourself
example.
there.
What a great look into who we all are as people.
Yeah, I would have done it again. It's fine.
Not staying in. Kyle, do your stupid thing.
I believe I won. I deserve to win today. I finished the challenge. I made my knife before anyone else did. I hope you saw that. I made my knife faster than anyone else.
We noticed you made it before the competition started, which was peculiar.
And besides that, I cut them pig carcasses real good, and it held its edge, and I just did everything faster than the other two. I really think that's why I deserve the win today. I don't have chains embedded in my arms or the hateful soul of an evil fire demon embodying me either. When this is all said and done, I managed to retain my humanity, which is more than I can say for my two opponents today.
I have my hand raised.
Please,
Yes,
go ahead.
I feel as though you're overlooking the thing about the time monster that will come and take your soul eventually when you stop moving. Is that not somehow also bad?
Eventually, but we're not there.
It's not a now, that's a later.
Yeah. Do you see a time monster here now?
Do you see a time monster here? Is the time monster in the room with us, Kyle?
That concludes my statement.
Fantastic.
Well, Judge, we know that you have loved the Soul Edge so much that we have already made our travel plans to come back next season and forge the twin blade of the Soul Edge, the eponymous, that's the word I was looking for, the eponymous Soul Calibur in your special Forged in the Fire Season 7 Second Lances, where you'll give us all second chances.
That's so much
all I
better
got.
than the show you came up with the first time.
I don't often come up with the phrase and then work backwards, and I think I need to.
Yeah,
I feel
you
like,
need to.
I feel
That's
like
the way
it's
to
a
do
better
it.
way
That's
to
how
live.
comedy's written, man.
All right. Good vibes. Go.
Yeah, this was really cool. I watched this episode, like I said, 15 minutes before we recorded, and I thought, and this is stupid and fun, and I really enjoyed this. So, listeners, we had a fairly decent discussion over who was taking what because I was so late to the jump. But I was really excited to see you two choose what you chose. The dagger of time, the time dagger, awesome, so good. So
Yeah.
some garage knife crafting man referring to it as a long blade, and harnessing the sands of time is excellent, and I loved everything about that. I'm glad, Matt, that you also took some of the energy that I decided to go with as well as an eldritch ancient evil that drains the life of those who wield it. And Soul Calibur is a ride.
Oh my
So-
god, insane. I've never looked at Soul Calibur lore before like 3 days ago, and I you know, had one of those like, oh, well, I'll get really into the lore, I'll make a bunch of references, it'll be great. I got 2 pages into the wiki and abandoned ship immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that comes from like the original Soul Calibur came out when anime was just like everything was just at 100 already.
It was a Dreamcast game, so it was 2001.
And then every sequel had to up the ante from
Get
the
wilder.
100 it started at, and it just got crazier and crazier.
Yeah, I honestly, before I looked to see what you two chose, I almost took Ivy's whip sword because it's so cool. And then I saw you took that, and I was like, okay, we'll stay away from Soul Calibur. But those were both very good choices.
Yeah, Todd, I lingered on the Chaos Blades for a little bit before I settled on the Time Knife. It's very good, very iconic weapons as well. And yeah, Matt, just the Soul Calibur or the Soul Edge, you know, except for 1 or 2 other swords, like is the video game sword. So good pick and good characters today, gentlemen.
Yeah, my goodest vibe goes to all of us for committing to the bit for this whole episode, because it sure is fun when we do these, and we don't do these all the time, but man, do I enjoy it when we do it. So just, I had no intentions of like doing a voice bit today, and if I had not been the third person, I wouldn't have gone that direction. So good for you, Todd, for setting us on that journey, and Kyle for keeping it going. That's important. Yeah, I like sat down to prep for this episode and realized that I just don't know any video game swords. I was like, okay, what games do I have that have swords? None.
The Master Sword was a quick, easy
Right.
answer, and no one wanted to do Master Sword.
I was thinking about it too, and I don't think there are really a lot that aren't not like JRPGs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or from WoW. WoW
Yeah.
has a deep cache of swords to pull from, but
Yeah.
only Andrew among us has really dove into the WoW.
If you do a search for
Barely.
like famous video game swords, like I'm sure we all did at some point in time in the past 48 hours, you do see a lot of the same, like 5 or 6 on every single list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 3 of them are from Final Fantasy, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
again, not our wheelhouse.
Who doesn't want to use Squall's Gunblade?
Yeah,
That's the answer that I would have come with. So
the
Yeah.
Keyblade was the other one. Another easy answer that none of us touched today.
Yeah. The 3 low-hanging fruit that I avoided was the Master Sword, the Keyblade, and the Beam Sword from Halo. Those were the 3 that I was like, I think we can do better.
we can go deeper.
I didn't want to try to explain how I made a sword out of energy in a forge about making like steel weapons.
Todd, don't lie. It's because we bullied you that you were going to pick it in the build-up
we did
to
do
this
that.
episode.
Yeah, listeners, I was bullied in the past 48 hours.
I'm going to tell you out of character, these were all excellent choices when you get, and I was very much excited about all of these. And this was a hard decision to make, but I'll give it to you in character. All right, Bladesmiths. Well, Edge Weapon Specialist Doug Marcada and I have come back to the Forge because apparently we're still in a pandemic and we can't cross the border. So here's what we found when we got back. Unfortunately, there was a lot of murdering that happened here. There was we only saw one live person still in the Forge. This particular person was covered in blood and was just chanting about the blood of their victims. Unfortunately, we have called the authorities on Todd, who has murdered the other two in what only could be described as a Herculean fury.
Well, hey there. Can you take a picture of me real quick and send it to my stepson Michael? I think he'd appreciate this.
Sure, we will send Michael your mugshot. I would like special mention Kyle. We did find Kyle later, but unfortunately, Kyle was caught in a time paradox where he will be making the sword 2 weeks ago and also had made the sword next year.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pickle I got myself in.
A ding dang time paradox.
Ding dang time paradox. Finally, Matt also was in the room. He was just an eyeball. His entire soul had been devoured and was just this eyeball that was still kind of epoxied to a piece of Damascus steel. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for listening in to Debate This. You all can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Debate This Cast, or on our website at debatethiscast.com. Hey, do you like Marvel? Have you heard Disney and Marvel are doing this thing where they're releasing short-form TV series weekly, basically until the inevitable heat death of the universe? Well, you should consider checking out our sister show, The Ploose is Loose. It's a weekly recap of the latest MCU show being featured on Disney Plus, the original D Ploose. And right now, Todd is leading us through a breakdown of the very expertly paced Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is, of course, Marvel's very own Fast and the Furious-esque serial. Until next time, my name is Andrew Henderson.
I'm Todd, a 10-minute QuickTime event of Doug Marcada murdering pig carcasses Thomas.
I'm Kyle, a ding-dang time paradox Harper.
And I'm Matt, vomit on his sweater already, mom's pandemic, Cole.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us, and if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.
I'm not sad I introduced you to Pandemic.